Hey, hi again. I'm Trent Goodmanson. On my last video, I showed you a ballerina that I was working on. I was just coming to the point where I was going to start to, as I was calling it, deconstruct it, meaning kind of play with the abstract qualities in the figure and in the dress that this ballerina is wearing. And I will show you here. Turn this around. All right, let me back up so you can see the whole thing. And try not to trip on stuff behind me. So this is the whole thing. You don't necessarily have to go to the other one to see it before, but you can if you want to, of course, to the other video. But I've taken basically, this isn't the only thing I'm going to talk about, but if you're interested in this, bear with me for a minute. So I basically took this from a traditional, realistic standpoint to to a realistic figure with some abstract qualities to it. As you can see, I just added some nice thick brushwork to it, or brushwork and palette knife work. Kind of emphasized some temperature shifts and colors in it. Those are some of my favorite parts of a figure: is the elbows and hands, other extremities, fingers and toes, knees, things like that that sort of have the warmer skin tones. So you can see I just brought in shapes, random shapes, seemingly random shapes, that more or less kind of frame the figure, but also make it a little bit more contemporary in its feel. Down here I borrowed some, not really ideas per se from Gustav Klimt, but some of the patterns are a little bit reminiscent of his work, I think. I wasn't necessarily going for something like his, but I guess you could say I was channeling him. Anyway, so there's that. I wanted to talk about something real quick. I'll turn this around just for a second. So I really enjoy painting that part, that chapter of a painting, that the part where I am finished with the figure and I just get to play, a thick brushwork, palette knife, kind of reckless abandon almost. I'm thinking about what I'm doing, of course. I'm very aware of what is happening in the painting, but I get to play with it. I put away my reference. I don't look at it at all. I just am there with the painting, responding to the piece itself. And so I get to, in that sense, experience the painting much more thoroughly, the way that a fellow viewer would. Not just. I feel like before I got into this idea of abstracting the work a little bit after finishing it, I feel like it was a little bit of a disconnect between what I saw and felt as the artist, as the creator of the piece, and what others saw as onlookers. I was experiencing something different than what they were experiencing, and of course you could go on and on explaining the subtle differences that are always going to exist. Of course, creating something is always going to be a little bit different than just viewing it, for obvious reasons. But I like to think that I'm experiencing what the painting is saying to me as a work of art this way, whereas before I was kind of missing out on that a little bit because I was so attached to the photo that I was using, or the reference that I was looking at. Okay, my point that I'm getting to is that it's so much fun that now that I'm done with that, I admit there's a little bit of an apprehension to get started. It's backwards from this view, but give you something more interesting to look at there. There's a little bit of apprehension, as I said, or I'm a little bit hesitant on some levels to start a new painting, because honestly, it's not as much fun to start a painting sometimes, at least one that I'm trying to get accurate. I'm trying to get the anatomy accurate. Excuse me while I put this down. You can stare at my undone drywall ceiling for a moment. I'm gonna take this off. Let's see, maybe I can set it up so there's at least something to look at. I'll take this off the easel and set it to dry someplace. I'll just put it here for now. And show you what's on my board here. As you can see, maybe you can see, maybe you can't. But it is a mountain landscape. Turn it sideways there, you can kind of see what it was representing. Nothing greatly wrong with it, per se. It's just that it doesn't scream fantastic masterpiece to me. At the time I did it, 15 years ago, it was all right. And I never even put it in a gallery. Didn't even try to sell it. I just kind of didn't, it just didn't reach that level that I was going for. And that happens. It definitely happens. It still happens. I don't show them. And I am quicker to paint over them than I was back then. I think that may be maybe the mark of a mature artist or an experienced artist may be that they're quicker to realize their mistakes and more okay with getting rid of those paintings. So this is an old one. I'm going to paint over it. This measures 40 by 30 inches, and I've been, as I said, a tiny bit apprehensive, but the act of painting over an old piece that I have never quite been happy with is in a way reaching that same level of just pure fun. It's almost playing as the abstraction is in that former piece that I showed you. So turn the camera around again, show you, let's see, wake up my screen. Wow, it's dusty. There are several that I have been thinking about doing. Portrait of my girls. Let's see here. So you can kind of see the type of things that I use as reference, although that's not showing up the way that I'm seeing it. It's a lot more, it's more subtle. But you can see what I think are good things to start with, and then, of course, I abstract them at the end, and some things I leave out entirely, of course. That's something you don't want to do, is paint everything. It is hard to know which one to start. Chances are I'm going to get around to all of them, though, so maybe it doesn't matter. I don't think that one would work as well, although I'm extremely excited to paint this. Without being a slave to what's in the background, I think it's going to be fun to use the red elements that, of course, are repeating themselves throughout the thing. This is a photo I took during one of our Valentine's Day celebrations, hence the Christmas tree with hearts on it. So anyway, I think that might do better as a smaller piece. It may not read quite the way I want as a large painting. Similar thing there. I like the expression. You can see the subtleties better there. I like the expression, kind of a moody piece, moody and thoughtful. There's a bit much there that I don't know. I just am not as interested. Sorry. This is the process. So this is real life. How I choose. And honestly, some days I will be staring at my pile of photos, and I will share this with you. It's a little bit telling. Well, my girls play in here too. But this is my stack of photos, and if I put them in a neat, orderly pile, I can't look through them as much. It's embarrassing to show that my studio's a mess like that. It's not always like that. But it frequently is, because I'm just kind of, going through these stacks and stacks of photos that I have. I've got hard copy photos on the floor there that I just toss to the side. I'll put them in 5 or 6 different stacks of priority. the ones that I'm most interested in, and ones that I might get to later versus the ones that I just hate right now, but I'll get to those later and love them again. You know, it's just nice to have a lot of different things to spur my imagination. And then I've got tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of images on the hard drive that I can choose from. This is going to be a long video if I go too long, but I just wanted to, maybe I won't even choose right now, because obviously I'm not there yet. But I'll go ahead and grab a brush. That sometimes if you're in a lull, at least if I'm in a lull, just making a mark on the canvas. Sorry, I'll look at the camera. Just making the mark on the canvas can have a tendency to get me out of a funk, if you will. I don't like that word necessarily, but so here's what I'm going to do. So I guess this video is about what happens when you don't feel like painting, or rather when you want to feel like painting, but you're not sure what to paint or how to paint. Hi guys. And so I almost always start with this brown-black mixture, only because it's easy to paint over, and if it shows through, it doesn't mess things up. As you can see, there's plenty of texture on here, but that's not a problem. It will just force me, hi Everett. It will just force me to go thick, which I love anyway, and to allow some of those things, some of those pieces of textured paint that are on there right now, to show through, and you know, if they work, then I'll let them stay. And if they don't, then again, it gives me an opportunity to cover them up and just to go really thick, which is really enjoyable. So I'll turn this around again. Oh boy, I still haven't decided. This is true to life. This is how it goes. The thing is, it's not that I like some better than others, it's that I like them all equally. That's why it's hard. 40 by 30. All right. Just placing lines where they, I'm kind of trying to be abstract here. Lines where they represent just the placement of that ballerina. Daddy, I want to drink of milk. I have an open studio, if you guys didn't know that already. In other words, my kids, everyone in my family. I want to drink of milk. Can you ask Mommy? No. No! You have to wait till I'm making a video and then ask me. Yeah, that happens a lot. That's all right. I want you to give me milk. I'm not going to show this whole thing. My studio is attached to the house. It used to be a garage. Anyway, this will take me a few times. Just a minute. No. I like feeling like I'm part of what happens during the day with my family. So Hey guys, just a minute. So I'm gonna stop here for other reasons because I need to go. But I'm gonna quickly go into color in another video. All right, this is what you guys get when I don't edit videos. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you soon. Bye.